Welcome back to another edition of Slot Rods. Today we're going to talk about magnets. That big question, to use them or not. There's a lot of people out there that don't, a lot of people that do. I kind of run both. When you're running full magnets, you're basically on the track or off the track. There's not much wiggle room. Once those magnets break loose, usually it's at a high speed, and that car's coming off the track. Doesn't matter how fast your car can go. There is a physical limit to how fast it can make that 90-degree turn, and that's just the laws of physics, and there's no way to beat that. Eventually, the G-forces are going to overtake the effect of the magnet, and it's going to break loose, and at those speeds, at that force, it's coming off. It's fun to run those cars really, really fast, but it also makes for some bad crashes. And on these small tracks, like mine is, 21 meters, and I consider that a small track. You don't have a lot of straightaway, and even still with the straights I've got, that maybe 16 feet of straightaway, I've got to start braking 2/3 down the straightaway. Some of these stock motors don't have great braking force. Even some of the aftermarket motors don't. It's hard to run those cars fast when you don't have the length of track to really get them up to speed. Now, you can use gearing. You can use some gearing to really get the RPMs up fast. But you still need a lot of braking force to slow it down, so you're going really fast or really slow. If you got a big track, it don't matter. But I kind of run a mix, and we'll get into that. But let's start looking at the cars first. We'll look at a basic layout for a Carrera car. As you can see, the rear sits under this plastic piece here, right under here. There's a little bar magnet that sits under that, and then you have the mid magnet. Now, even when I don't run magnets, I take that, when I run the less magnet, I take that rear one out. But then I'll make some adjustments that I'll show later. But that's your stock magnet setup. Well, if we look at Scalextric, there's no mid magnet. You might get a little bit of force off the motor, and you've got a big bar in the back. I don't know how the force is compared to I haven't measured the force put out between that and the Carrera, but this is before the axle, while the Carrera is under the axle, which is always going to be a little bit better. Now, if we look at NSR uses button magnets. I have two here that kind of help it out versus my other cars. There's nothing under the rear here. You get a little bit off the motor. You can see there's a little bit of glue here. I tried gluing some back here just to increase the performance, but it didn't really do much because this is really flexible. It was just pulling it, but I was trying it here. Really didn't like it. Took it out, left it with the buttons. It's decent as is. Now we look at Slot It. Slot It motor pods has lots of spots for magnets, and it's really nice. I really like it. You'll have to take the motor out here on this one, but there's one bar back here right underneath the axle. You can put another here. And I have a little piece here that I made from one of my own magnets put in right there, and that seems to work well for this car. Now, there's all kinds of different magnets you can add. In this car, I didn't really add anything. All I did was I took the rear magnet out. I left the center magnet in, and this car runs great as a I call it magless. There's still a center mag, but the rear is gone, and it handles really nice. It's got a lot of play. It'll fishtail nicely. You got a lot of room before she'll blow out of the track. When you get it up to speed and she starts sliding, you get a little bit of a warning, let's say, rather than just constantly flying off the track. Now here is another Carrera that I've modified. Now what I've done here is, you can see I've added a little bit of extra magnet in the middle. There's no magnet here in the rear, but I've added a little bit here. And so you stack one on top of another, it's going to increase the force of the magnet. So you get more magnetic attraction there. Just a little bit, just enough to help her handle, to keep her on par with the other cars. And I've tried to do that with most. I'll move magnets around. Once I call these the drifter cars. The cars that have full magnets I call the GT class, and the ones where I've removed the rear magnet I call the drifter class, because they're gonna slide around the corners a lot. But as I work with them, I adjust magnets. I've even put some up front under the front axle to reduce pop out. Haven't done that much, but on one or two cars it's worked. But I'll adjust the magnets in the middle, or maybe just a tiny bit in the rear, a button magnet, just to keep it on par with the other cars. So I'll lap them. I'll lap test the cars, and then if one's really slow, I'll adjust the magnets a little bit to keep all the cars kind of on par. That way it's kind of fair when you're racing them, because you want one car that's just fishy constantly and can't keep up with anything else. It's just kind of no fun to drive that car. So I'll adjust those as I go. To work with those magnets, you can see I have a big stack of them here from the rears that I took out, and from some center magnets. But I bought some from some different places. It's called K&J Magnetics. These little bars, I might put one of these in the center, or one on each side of the center. They're not that wide compared to the regular magnets. So they just add a little bit of force, not a lot. I use these just to fine-tune things. Here's a heavier bar magnet. It's the same size as the rear magnet, but twice as thick. And those are if you want to look at the numbers, that's what they are. That's the part number and everything else on these. And same for this one. And let's see. These are similar to the stock mags, but a little thinner. The BX021s. Now I've tried a lot of others. I've tried these little thin wafers. I've tried discs and cylinders. I didn't get a lot of use out of these, just because the bars tend to handle better as the cars move. Once, if you have this in one spot, once it's away from the rail, it's no longer in use. But a bar is, as the car slides over the track, it's going to keep some sort of magnetic force as long as it's somewhere over a rail. Now, like the NSR magnets, like I said, they're buttons. That's what they look like. They have two thicknesses. And then the slottets, as you can see, have those cutouts. And if you look at the car, those cutouts go through the openings in the plastic, and that allows the magnet to get closer to the track and increase the force. So it's up to you what you want to do. On the smaller tracks, it's a lot more fun to at least take out that rear magnet. There's people that take all of them out. I don't find it as fun. It really slows the car down. At least with the center magnet, you get some speed, not a ton, but they're playful. They fish. You can drift them, which I find when I can get those cars drifting around a big corner, it's a lot of fun. And in a minute, we'll go to the track and we'll show some of that in action. I'd say like half of my cars I've converted to the drifter class. I still want to keep some just flat out race cars, you know. But I found that the drifter class is just a lot more fun to drive and play with. So there we have it. That's my take on magnets. To each their own, and you be the judge of what you like and what you want for your track. But we'll come back here in just a second, and we'll show you some of the drifter cars in action.